World War II is one of the most studied events in history, yet countless secrets remain hidden from the textbooks. Behind the familiar battles and famous leaders lie shocking stories that almost no one talks about, covert missions, betrayals, and decisions that altered the course of the war. From mysterious disappearances to secret alliances and forbidden technology, these untold truths paint a darker, stranger picture than the history books suggest. Prepare to uncover 10 secrets from World War II that were deliberately kept from the public eye, and discover the hidden forces that shaped the world forever. When we think of World War II, we picture epic battles, heroic soldiers, and notorious dictators like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. History books often focus on the big events, the Blitz, D-Day, and the fall of Berlin, but they leave out the shadows lurking behind the headlines. There were secret operations, classified projects, and controversial decisions that never made it into school lessons. For example, some espionage missions were so covert that even generals didn't know their outcomes until decades later. Certain alliances were temporary and hidden, shaping strategies in ways the public never saw. Meanwhile, experimental technology, from early jet engines to secret weapons programs, gave some nations a hidden edge, yet was erased from official accounts after the war. Even more disturbing, some political deals were made that traded human lives for power and influence, leaving scars on countries and families that history books quietly ignored. Understanding these hidden stories doesn't just make the war more intriguing. It exposes the complexity of human ambition, secrecy, and survival in one of the deadliest conflicts the world has ever known. World War II was not just a clash of armies. It was a collision of secrets, ambitions, and hidden agendas that textbooks barely scratched the surface of. While millions of soldiers fought on battlefields across Europe, Africa, and Pacific, there were covert operations and shadowy deals shaping the outcome far from the front lines. These untold stories reveal a war that was fought not only with guns and tanks, but also with deception, betrayal, and forbidden knowledge. Take, for example, the secret operation known as Operation Paperclip. After the war, the Allies secretly brought top German scientists to the United States, some of them directly involved in Nazi atrocities, to develop rockets and nuclear technology. The public never heard about it for decades. Without these hidden programs, the space race and Cold War dynamics would have looked very different. The moral compromise of using former Nazis was kept under wraps, a dark secret hidden behind the victory parades and celebrations. Then there were covert espionage networks operating across Europe. While Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt were negotiating openly, thousands of spies risked their lives in occupied territories. Some of these agents worked for multiple sides at once, betraying both allies and enemies when it suited them. Entire operations were conducted without any official acknowledgement, and many of these spies were executed or disappeared quietly, leaving families to wonder if their loved ones had simply vanished. The war, in reality, was as much about information as it was about firepower. One of the most shocking hidden conflicts was the role of secret alliances and betrayals. For instance, while Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union officially clashed on the Eastern Front, both sides had temporary covert agreements at various points to exploit each other's resources. These shadow deals dictated supply routes, military strategies, and even local governance in occupied territories. Millions of civilians unknowingly became pawns in secret arrangements that would never be revealed in post-war treaties or school textbooks. Even on the battlefield, untold stories shaped the war. The Allies' breaking of the Enigma code is well known, but fewer people realize how risky and secretive the operations were. Code breakers at Bletchley Park in England risked exposure and execution if captured. Entire missions were altered based on intelligence that remained classified for decades. Every soldier who survived or perished was part of a game played in the shadows, a war of hidden information that the public could never see. Technology played a hidden role, too. Germany's development of advanced jet aircraft, secret submarines, and experimental weapons was kept out of public records after the war. Many projects were destroyed or classified, leaving historians with only fragments of the truth. On the other side, the Allies conducted secret nuclear research in Manhattan Project facilities, where the stakes were apocalyptic. The world came perilously close to seeing a very different outcome, yet these stories were carefully curated or suppressed, so that the post-war narrative focused on heroism, not horror. Perhaps the most chilling, untold conflict involved human experiments and political decisions hidden from the public. Concentration camps are well documented, but what is less known are the secret medical experiments conducted under the guise of science. Some of these results were studied in secret by Allied powers after the war for military purposes. The ethical cost of survival and victory was buried in classified files, never see the light of day in history books for decades. Another layer of the conflict lies in economic manipulation and exploitation. Certain corporations secretly profited from both Allied and Axis powers, supplying resources that fueled the war while public narratives focused only on patriotism and national effort. Wealth and influence quietly shifted hands behind closed doors, shaping the reconstruction and political landscape of post-war Europe. History books rarely explore these hidden economic conflicts, yet they were crucial in determining which nations emerged stronger and which were left weakened. Civilian experiences also contain untold battles. Entire communities were pawns in intelligence operations, propaganda campaigns, and forced evacuations. Some towns were targeted not for military value, but for experiments in psychological warfare. Citizens endured hunger, displacement, and terror as part of a larger conflict that was orchestrated far from the battlefield. Their stories, full of survival, betrayal, and resilience, were often omitted from public memory to preserve the narrative of heroic triumph. The war's psychological dimension was another secret battlefield. Leaders on all sides used deception to maintain morale, mislead enemies, and manipulate public opinion. Propaganda campaigns were carefully designed to hide failures, exaggerate victories, and suppress dissent. Radio broadcasts, newspapers, and even cultural programs became tools in a hidden war for perception. Soldiers and civilians alike were caught between the reality of the front lines and the carefully crafted narratives fed to them at home. Finally, the aftermath of these conflicts carried its own secrets. Many hidden alliances, covert operations, and morally ambiguous decisions influenced the shaping of the post-war world. Intelligence networks remained active, monitoring former enemies and allies alike. Classified documents revealed that some decisions made during the war were deliberately designed to control the political balance for decades to come. What textbooks present as simple victory or defeat was actually a complex web of hidden maneuvering where the war never truly ended. It simply went underground. The main conflict of World War II, therefore, was not only about tanks, bombs, and soldiers, but also about secrets, shadows, and the unseen forces that control the outcome. From covert scientific programs to espionage networks, from hidden alliances to economic manipulation, the untold stories reveal a far more complex and morally ambiguous picture than history books have ever admitted. Understanding these hidden conflicts gives us a new lens through which to view the war, one that shows the world was not just fighting for survival, but for information, power, and the future itself. World War II was not only fought on the ground, sea, and air, it was fought in the shadows. Every secret mission, covert decision, and hidden alliance contributed to shaping the modern world in ways most people will never learn in a classroom. And these 10 secrets we are about to uncover, they are only the tip of the iceberg, the first glimpse into a hidden side of history that continues to fascinate and horrify historians and enthusiasts alike. Every war has a moment when the tide shifts, when hope turns into despair for one side and opportunity emerges for the other. In World War II, the turning point was not always on the battlefield. It often happened in the shadows, in decisions and events the public never fully understood. These hidden shifts determined the ultimate outcome and revealed just how fragile victory really was. One pivotal moment came in 1942, during the Battle of Stalingrad. While the world saw a brutal city siege, few knew the layers of intelligence, espionage, and supply manipulation that made the Soviet defense possible. Secret Soviet intercepts of German communications allowed Stalin's generals to anticipate attacks, while Nazi overconfidence and logistical failures sealed their fate. It wasn't just the soldiers in the streets who turned the tide. It was a hidden hand of information that allowed a beleaguered army to survive and counterattack, crushing Hitler's ambitions in the East. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, the Battle of Midway marked another hidden turning point. Codebreakers in the U.S. Navy had cracked Japanese communication ciphers, giving Admiral Nimitz the ability to predict Japan's movements. This intelligence advantage allowed the U.S. to destroy 4 Japanese aircraft carriers in a single, decisive battle. What the world saw as a dramatic naval victory was actually the result of months of covert analysis and calculated deception, showing that intelligence could outweigh sheer firepower. Even in Europe, hidden strategic decisions reshaped the war's course. The Allies' preparation for D-Day wasn't just about soldiers storming the beaches. It involved complex disinformation campaigns, secret parachute drops behind enemy lines, and double agents feeding false information to the Germans. These unseen operations created confusion, preventing the Nazis from effectively reinforcing their defenses. The world witnessed triumph on Normandy's beaches, but the real battle was fought in shadowy planning rooms, where misdirection and secrecy determined who would live and who would die. Scientific breakthroughs also played a decisive role. The Manhattan Project, conducted in utmost secrecy, created the atomic bomb, a weapon so powerful that it changed the rules of warfare forever. While the world did not learn of its existence until after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the hidden research gave the Allies a strategic leverage that altered Japanese surrender calculations and reshaped global power dynamics in ways no textbook fully conveys. The turning point of World War II, therefore, was not a single moment but a series of hidden victories, intelligence coups, and strategic gambles. Behind every public triumph lay countless unseen efforts, covert operations, intercepted messages, secret weapons, and daring acts of espionage. These shadow battles tipped the scales and showed that the war was fought as much in secrecy as in the open, proving that knowledge, strategy, and timing could determine the fate of nations more than brute force alone. It was in these hidden moments that the course of history changed, and from this turning point, the path to Allied victory became clearer. The world may remember the headlines, the battles, and the generals, but the real story lies in the secrets, the gambles, and the intelligence that no history book would dare reveal for decades.